Hello, mother people. Yes, we've all seen the court cases, and if you haven't, you've probably seen a couple of the clips. How crazy has this been going on? Oh my goodness, Johnny Depp, I always knew you were a good lover boy, and I didn't believe anything of that bitch. I hate her so much.
We don't know yet.
I don't care. I hate that bitch so much. And believe me, you know why? So I have a soft place for women that go through abuse because my mom had a shitty fucking experience with my narcissistic dad. And it pisses me off every fucking time I hear stories about guys fucking up girls, being completely assholes, all this shit, right? It makes me want to absolutely disastrously fucking murder them. But I also think it's just as fucking wrong is when a woman weaponizes this whole victimhood, turns it around, and because here's the reason why. When they get caught, it makes all the women out there who's been through the abuse, who's been through all this, it kind of like now, you know, once again, they have to go through the scrutiny. Once again, now, like, people don't believe them because they can point out and be like, look at what Amber Heard did. Now, like, all girls could be lying. It's just, to me, it's just like, dude, it fucking sucks.
I understand why Johnny Depp wanted the court case televised, because liability cases or whatever, you know, the defamation cases are really hard to win.
Yeah.
And his end goal with this, I guess, was to get his career back.
Yeah, because he lost everything.
Yeah. So I think in his mind, he's like, have it televised, and then whether I win or not, my reputation's cleared.
Yeah.
Because it's not just proving did he abuse her or not, it's proving that that specific op-ed was a lie, and that specific op-ed had an effect on his career and whatever to the tune of 50 million, right? So it's quite a hard case to win. So he wanted it televised because really his aim is to just get his reputation back.
Because at first, you know, like the article came out and everyone was like, man, Johnny Depp, you fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's what he did?
Yeah.
I can't believe it. These Hollywood stars, you know? And I was on the fence because at the same time I was like, I don't know these people.
Yeah.
I can't write off Amber and be like, no way, Johnny all the way.
Yeah.
But then later I was like, but he's Edward Scissorhands though, and I love him.
But what I find baffling about it is that, like, they completely airing out all their shit.
Yeah, how she shit in the bed.
Yeah, but neither of them come out, like, it's clear so far it seems like he didn't abuse her, but it seems like a very toxic relationship. But he's also giving out details about his private life that is shocking to me from someone who's been private this long. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And putting all their relationship stuff, and it's so he said, she said, and so, I mean, they obviously have recordings and they have different things, but it's just so, like, upsetting to see public. Yeah. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating watching it.
And guys, if you're wondering, you know, why we're just talking in this car, this is something new that we want to try out. We have really good, like, long road trip conversations, and it's kind of like a podcast, and we're just like, we might as well just throw this up and see where it goes, because we have a lot of thoughts, a lot of opinions, and sometimes these conversations that we have are better than the vlogs that I'm recording for the day. And I'm like, why are we not putting the greatest things that we have in our hearts and minds on camera?
Because I can't talk on camera. Half the shit we talk about privately, as soon as you turn the camera on,
you freeze up. But you just had a warm up. We've been talking for a long time. Hannah now feels much more comfortable, and then she's using this as a way to practice. But I would have to say though, watching that relationship, I feel so much more grateful about our relationship, even though it's only been, you know, 2 years, and some people might be like, you guys still honeymoon. Well, I still love it. I still feel super, super lucky that we get along the way that we do. Because
we obviously argue, we've had like disagreements or whatever, on a obviously much smaller level, but I can't imagine wanting it all out there publicly like that.
Yeah.
You know?
But I guess Johnny Depp, being a private person, he did it because he was like, once and for all, like, I gotta fucking change this. Like, he's like, people think I'm this woman beating, like, piece of shit.
I know. What's crazy to me too, people focus so heavily on career. Career is what you're geared towards through your whole life, through school, through everything, right? your relationships, I think, have a bigger impact on your happiness in life
Oh yeah.
than your career ever will. You can have a job that you don't really like, but go home to a good partner, good friends, good family, and still be happy, have a good life. But you can't have a bad relationship and have your dream job. It doesn't make a difference. You'll still be miserable.
Yeah.
He was a famous Hollywood actor in a fucked up relationship and was miserable
Oh,
for
yeah.
years.
In my past relationships, when I was having like a rough patch during
Yeah.
everything, I would in my career be like at the peak. I'd be having
Yeah.
fun. I'd be, in my friendships, and then I would come home and we're just arguing, and I'm like, life
Yeah.
is so fucking miserable. And then like, I feel like right now you're completely right about that. Like, I could work anywhere. I could probably have the shittiest job where my bosses are talking all this fucking shit. I'm being bullied at work, but if I get to come home to you, and you making me a delicious salad,
Yeah.
and we're just talking and laughing, like, life is just way better.
There really needs to be, I think, a bigger focus from a much younger age on self-development and then how that affects your relationships.
Yeah.
Because I know Jordan Peterson's controversial, but he made a point that one of the best things you can do for your kids is make them likable. And that doesn't mean make them fake, but just make them into people that are considerate, responsible, whatever, because it will affect their life so much in how things go. But I feel like the best things I did for myself was therapy and then just self-improvement in a million different ways, because it meant that you could get to a point where you could go into a relationship having dealt with a lot of my own shit, and then we don't have to come up against those conflicts. I was looking at the Johnny Depp thing because his mum was abusive, apparently. I don't know to what extent. And so maybe some of his not dealing with his shit from his childhood led him to be able to be in a position where he could be in a relationship with someone that was also abusive.
Like, just looking back, there's been so many things in my personal past where I'm like, oh man, I could have fucking done that better.
Yeah.
But it's all those mistakes that really brought us to who we are today anyway.
Prior to him, I hadn't had a long-term boyfriend ever. Like, I had dated, but I think my max was like 3 months, something like that, maybe 3 months.
So I got with a virgin.
More or less. But then
Emotional virgin.
I didn't know what it would be like going into a relationship, or whether I would be good at it, or whether it would suit me, or whether I'd be too set in my ways. But I think where we've got lucky in what we were saying before is that we both dealt with a lot of our issues separately. So a lot of the issues that I think people come up against in relationships that we hear a lot, I think especially in the first couple of years or when you first start living together, they haven't, I think we've come up against the same shit, but I think how we've solved it has been efficient. And I think that's because we've both dealt with a lot of shit prior to getting into this relationship.
Yeah, a lot of our fights, they just don't linger. Like, we'll fight for like 10 minutes max or something.
Yeah.
And then we resolve it, we move on. There's no grudge, there's no lingering. It's just literally a soft, nice feeling. And to me, that wasn't the case in a lot of my past relationships. A lot of the fights would actually add on. Like, it would stack on, and there'll be a laundry list of things that, I'm not being forgiven for, or like I'm not forgiving them for. And then when you get into another fight, you bring up old shit.
I think sometimes what can happen though is that, like, and I think this isn't just romantic relationships, I think this can happen friendships, family, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Is when one person has attached more emotion to the subject matter than another person. So like, if we've been in an argument where I felt like, say you've been inconsiderate, I felt like that, not that you had been, but that's how I was feeling. If I've also felt like you weren't as affectionate as I needed you to be, or you weren't as, like, in other areas, that one argument gets attached onto an existing discontentment.
No, it makes sense. It's kind of like it's like how, like, someone might grow up feeling ignored by their parents. So it's a trigger, right? Yeah. And then, like, let's say the age-old, you kept the toilet seat up argument, right? Like, and I told you to put it down or whatever. Like, we don't do this in our relationship, but I've heard it many, many times. So I guess people could relate. So I'm using an example that people can relate with. And so the toilet seat argument, the way I see it is like it's not a big deal. But then if she's telling you multiple times,
Yeah.
and then her reaction might be like pretty nuts, but it's probably because she feels completely uncared for, ignored,
Yeah.
and all that. But then the guy too, it's like there's got to be some forgiveness for his dumbass.
I think men in general read emotions slightly differently to women. So when you're trying to talk about something you're feeling to a man, it has to be quite, in my experience, it has to be quite precise.
You're
So-
really good though, but I think that's because you grew up with
I grew
three
up with
brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but say you were leaving the toilet seat out,
Yeah.
right? I would obviously ask you not to. It doesn't actually bother me that much. I grew up with three brothers. I'm more used to it being up than not. But in that situation, it has to be like, look, when you do this, I start to feel like you just aren't listening to what I'm saying or whatever. And it sounds like bullshit, right?
Yeah,
But it works.
it does.
Like when I need something from you,
Yeah.
I just know I have to ask for it, but ask with precision.
But you also, when you ask with love. You don't ask like you're so fucking fed up with me
Yeah.
and it's already a fight because I'm wrong. Like the way that you ask, it's so kind and loving and soft, and it makes me want to do stuff. Like
Yeah.
whereas in my own experience, like every time I get in trouble for some shit that I'm
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? I didn't even know I did anything wrong. And then I get defensive.
Yeah.
And I try to hear, but then it riles me up. And then it turns into an argument because
Yeah.
it's not a request, it's a demand. And it
Yeah.
feels like, oh, this freaking girl's trying to control me. Or like,
Oh.
you know what I mean, right? It's like, a lot of the things I think people ask for are usually very reasonable. But I think what happens is like, guys and girls, what ends up happening is like, they probably let things slide. And then they're just like, you know what, I'm gonna let this one slide. I'm losing patience. And then by the time that they ask, they're already so angry and fed up that it's not even asking. It's yelling, it's anger, it's all that stuff. So immediately the other person just tightens up and goes, well, I'm not gonna listen to you because you're crazy. And so I think people probably think, this is whoever's watching, they're probably like, I am asking.
Yeah.
You crazy ass bitch, I am
People,
asking. They don't
in
want to
their
fucking
minds,
listen.
They are asking. I
But
think,
then
yeah.
most people don't ask. They demand, they yell, they get angry, they argue. And that to me isn't asking.
But they might have already felt like they had showed you this thing that they didn't like. So like with the toilet seat thing, what if they've already come in and been like, oh, I just fucking fell in the toilet because you didn't put the seat down, right? That's not asking, but they've expressed a displeasure for something, right?
Oh, yeah.
So in their mind, they're like, he just doesn't give a fuck about me. And if there's already areas in which they feel like you don't care, it's usually more than one area for it to kick off like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think what's different in our situation is we both had to go through so much effort to be together
Yeah.
that there's already an understanding that you must really fucking want me here. So
You must really fucking love me
fucking
to
want
give
me.
up everything
Yeah.
and just fucking deal with my crazy ass.
I'm like, you wouldn't have gone through all the bullshit if you weren't 100% sure that you wanted me in your life, right?
Mm.
So I think where the long distance can be, it has two like pros and cons to it. But I also remember, I think it was actually fucking Kingsley.
Kingsley?
Yeah, he did a video and he was.
He was
like,
on JK.
back in the day. I don't know if he still has a channel or what he's doing now, but he did a video where he was like, within it, he said, "I don't understand why people think mind reading is so romantic. Like your partner isn't a wizard. I think it's more romantic if you are close enough to someone that you feel comfortable telling them what you want, and they love you enough to try and give it to you."
That's magic.
Yeah, because that was more my mentality always, has been like, I just want to be with somebody where I'm not embarrassed or ashamed to ask for what I need, even if it feels ridiculous, and they will love me enough to try and give it to me. And I think most people, if they do love you, they will try if they know what it is that you want.
I think you're completely right, because that's the way I communicate.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely love it when people, or like my partner is like vulnerable with me, can tell me these things, and then don't expect me to basically like gather up all the clues. And I try, like, I think a lot of people that are in a relationship, they are actually trying.
Yeah.
But then because they don't get it doesn't mean that they don't care.
Yeah.
Some people genuinely don't care, but just because they're not getting it right doesn't mean that they don't give a fuck about you. And I think this is like from my experience, as well as, you know, my friends that I speak to, when they get in trouble by their girlfriends or wives or whatever, and they're accused of not caring, it's like, what are you talking about? We've been together for a decade. Look at all this evidence of me caring. And they're like, no, but then these are the things that you don't see. But also, it's like, you shouldn't use such harsh words that you don't care, that like they don't care.
Yeah.
Because they obviously care. They're just not aware of, and it takes time to develop, to get to understand. And so for you to understand like the importance of just like communicating it out, that's awesome. But in my experience, people don't even want to communicate it out because it kills the romance.
Yeah, but then I kind of get both sides, because I think it is about knowing your partner. So if the person you're with, and this again isn't just romantic relationships, this can be in any kind of relationship, is saying, I feel like you don't care about me, then there's a problem there that you also are responsible for. So there's the person who has the feeling of like, I'm not being cared for, and there's the person that's making them feel that way. And you need to get to the bottom. And sometimes it is just entitlement, and your partner's just being annoying, and you're doing everything you can, and it's not enough, right? And then they need to work on that. They need to understand why it is that nothing is enough, and why they can't feel that someone cares for them, right? Because that could be another psychological issue that's from further back, right?
Yeah, it could be like they're just triggered from abandonment, and then they no matter who loves them, they never feel fulfilled. Yeah.
But that's a small percentage.
Yeah.
A lot of the time you do also need to look at yourself, because it's not just what you want all the time. You might feel like you're given affection, but if you aren't taking the time to learn how that person perceives affection, then you're also not being fair to them.
That's
so it kind of goes both ways.
That's like studying the love languages, right?
Yeah.
And then just because you're like, let's say, acts of service, they might be words of affirmation.
Yeah.
So you can't give them love the way you want to receive love.
Yeah.
You got to do it the way they want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't have to understand it.
Yeah.
You might be like, this doesn't feel. You just have to respect the person you're with enough to try, I think.
I think that's true. I just think that couples don't collaborate enough.
Yeah.
Because like, remember when you gave me that heart rock that you found?
Yeah, this was the thing. So
I was like, that's so cute, and I was gonna chuck that motherfucker into the river.
So we were like walking down the thing, and I found like this little rock shaped like a heart, and I was like, oh, that's cute. Here you go, have a heart, right? So I don't know if everyone would see it this way, but this is how I would perceive it, and how I think a lot of times miscommunication happens, right? I found the rock, so my romantic gesture to you was giving you the rock, right?
And I should keep it in my heart.
Because your romantic gesture then towards me is keeping it. Keeping the gift or keeping the sentiment is like the romantic gesture, right? But you didn't understand that.
No, I wanted to put it back into nature where it would live in eternity.
So I had to tell you.
Yeah, and you said, keep that rock.
You got to keep that fucking rock. Because that's the romantic, like, it's like I'm putting the ball in your court to do the next romantic thing.
I see.
Yeah, and it's like people that keep sentimental things. But I think that's where people, like, go off. Because I knew straight, as soon as I gave it to you, I thought, this fucker's going to throw that thing away. I knew it. And that's why I told you, I was like, you've got to keep it.
But see, you told me that, whereas in my past relationships, I'd be in trouble, and the whole hike would be ruined, and there'll be so much like meanness coming, and I'm like, what's going on? I just, I don't know what I did wrong. And now that you explained it, it is pretty stupid. It's like, oh, you're doing a cute little gesture for me, and I'm symbolically tossing it away. And fucking really literally throwing it away. But then like at the moment, this is where I can see how like people say like, oh, guys are so clueless or whatever. In the moment, we're just frolicking in the forest, and I'm like, oh, it's a heart-shaped rock. Cool observation. Thank you. I mean, I do that shit to you, right? When I go like, look at that fucking tree. Ain't that the biggest tree you ever seen? You're like, oh my God, that's a tree, right? Or sometimes like, I don't know, like we just observe things. But you're right. We just look at things and go, wow. We don't really attach emotions to things.
No.
And I think that's the key element here is like what I'm learning from you is that women tend to attach a story and feeling to certain things, whereas guys can be more literal. And if they say, look at that car, all they're saying is, wow, look at that car. And the emotion is, wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, you know? Look at that girl. Ooh, look at that food. Ooh,
Yeah.
right? And if you notice, a lot of guys don't do aw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, look at that
Yeah.
cute little bunny. Aw, like it happens, right? But the reaction's not the same.
I think it's kind of like, and this isn't obviously the case for everybody, but just in like our joint experiences, it's like if there's a couple, right, and the guy comes home and the woman's on the sofa and she's had a shit day and she's crying and she's upset and she's on the sofa and she's watching like, I don't know, fucking Home Alone and she's eating pizza, right? The guy just walks in, she's sad, she's watching Home Alone eating pizza. A girl will take in the whole room and attach the emotion then is to the whole room. So the next time she comes home sad, I would put on Home Alone and get a pizza. Because I've attached it to that's her comfort. She's upset.
Oh,
These
yeah.
are the things she's using to comfort herself.
And then guys would be like, what's wrong? Today at work, this bitch, this.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, fuck that bitch. Next time, you say this to
Yeah.
that bitch, and then you're gonna get that bitch back. And I got your back, fool.
But then that's what happens then when the girl is like, it's obvious to us. It's like, you've seen me upset, you've seen what I do to comfort myself, so now how do you not understand what I need?
And then the guy was like, I did help you out because I asked you what your problem was. I helped you solve that shit. And now I gave you information so you could go back to work and fuck that bully ass bitch.
No, but I'm not even talking about that one situation. So it's like, she's just upset for whatever reason, right? I would took the whole room.
Oh yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
I'm saying from the guy's perspective,
Yeah.
they're blind to the room.
Yeah.
They're just looking at, you're crying,
Yeah.
what's wrong? Can I help you? How
Yeah.
can I help you? Here's some advice.
Then the next time she's upset though, you're not taking it, you don't give her the comfort that she needs. And she's like, why are you not giving it to me? Because I've shown you why.
Oh,
I've
because she's
I've
like, I showed you. Yeah.
You've seen this, you know
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
you live with me, you should see this.
And then
Yeah.
dudes are like, I helped you. I sat down and listened to you, and
Yeah.
I was backing you up.
But they're not even thinking about that last time. They're just
Yeah.
thinking, you've seen what I need when I'm sad, so why are you not giving me what I need when I'm sad?
Right.
Right? Whereas, I
Yeah.
know men are dumb.
Yeah.
I genuinely remember one time, and I came home and I was crying, and I don't know if they'll remember this, and I walked into the room crying, and all my brothers were in the room. They all walked out when I was crying, and I heard them when they walked out, they all went, Mom, Hannah's crying!
Do something. She's crying.
And they just left. And I was like, fair enough, they don't know what to do. And they wouldn't have been able to help.
Right, because I don't know. Maybe it's just guys like me, because I'm not gonna speak for all men. You know, there's so many different. There's guys that grew up with sisters. I think they're a lot better because they just understand how women communicate and what they see. But I do think like there's really no wrong or right. It's what people choose to value or what people emphasize.
Yeah.
Because for me at least, like a lot of the problems and issues that I have, they're like, it's like lingering uncertainty, right? Like, oh, is this deal gonna go through? Oh my God, I gotta fucking deal with this thing or whatever. And then that's why we're very problem solution based, I think. It's like after the problem is completed, and it's like we can tackle it on, we feel a sense of relief.
Yeah.
It's like ASMR, right? Like sometimes you watch videos of like, rooms being cleaned up, cars being restored, all these things. And if you can take that concept as to how I relieve myself from pain or drama or whatever, I create solutions and I fix it, and then I feel better about the whole situation. And I don't know about other guys, but for me, like the comfort aspect of it, like kind of venting and crying it out, or like all these things, they still do not remove the lingering feelings of unsolved thoughts.
Yeah. I think, again, I'm not going to speak for all women, but in my experience, when we're letting the emotion out, it's because we've already solved it. So if I've had a bad day at work, I've solved the issue at work, then I've come home and I'm just letting the emotion out.
I see.
So it's not that like they're not solving the problem, it's just after the fact,
And then talking it out to cope, to deal with it, to vent it out.
Yeah.
And like, I get it now. I think women are more in tune with understanding how to like reset themselves.
Yeah.
Because I think like especially old school dudes, you know, like guys of our generation, we're like in the middle where we're starting to understand mental health, emotional health a little bit better and expressing it and whatever.
Yeah.
But like my dad's generation and on, like they don't really know how to deal with any of those things.
Yeah.
They just bury themselves in work. They just, any type of those things that come up, they feel like a bitch for even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's a lot of like, I kind of feel that sometimes too. Like I feel like I'm right in the middle where I'm trying to sort things out, but I also don't have the mechanism of like, how do I cope with these feelings or let it out?
Yeah.
And even talking about it sometimes, it's difficult because I can't even find the words to express like, oh, this is what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Because I remember in my last relationship, right? Like I didn't even know that I was being angry and I was raising my voice. I didn't even know that I was sad. My partner at the time had to tell me that.
Yeah.
Like in the tone of your voice, the face expression, like all these things, you're going through a hard time. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And I think like it's not intentional denial. No. I think guys get a bad rep of like, oh, guys are always burying their emotions or whatever. It's like, it's almost like we're not skilled in it. So it's like a child doesn't know the right hand from the left, right? If you grow up not in tune with your feelings, when you are feeling something, you don't even know that that's happening.
Yeah.
When you're anxious and your breath is tight, you don't even know you're experiencing that.
Yeah.
You're completely ignorant to it, and you're just you're basically just impulsively reacting to the world.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys suffer from this. And so like, you know, it's, you know, when people run into this and be like, oh, that guy, he doesn't want to share his heart, he doesn't want to do, it's not like he doesn't want to. First off is he has to be aware that's even happening to him.
It's an option.
It's a, yeah. And then once they understand it, then they could be like, oh shit, yeah, I am depressed. Because there was a time in my life that I believed that I was never depressed.
Yeah.
There was no such thing. I was tired. I just needed some rest, maybe.
Low blood sugar.
Whatever. Even like, you know, being out of control with anger or whatever. Like all those things were like, someone else made me mad.
Yeah.
You fucking made me mad. That's why. It's not because, you know, something happened within me.
Yeah.
And so all of these things I had to kind of slowly get to understanding. And it kind of sucks. I don't want to say it sucks being a guy because it's fucking pretty amazing, but I think that a lot of the times men are blamed for things that they were never taught.
Yeah.
Or there's no role models within men of like, how do you cope and how do you like deal with certain things that are happening in your heart and mind.
Yeah.
And what's the right way to go by it.
Yeah.
And in this community support, women have a really strong network of like supporting each other and knowing the right things. And I think guys, they probably go to women for emotional support before they go to their guy friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is.
Because women just have a motherly, nurturing feel to it.
Yeah.
And most guys don't even know how to help each other.
And that's probably why the suicide rates with men are so high right now too.
Oh, that's probably freaking true.
They don't know how to deal with a lot of what's going on, and they don't know how to ask for the help. But then I don't think women know how to either. You know.
You're right. Yeah, I think men should be able to support each other more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of goes back into where I think we've got really lucky. Is that a lot of these issues that we've both had, we've dealt with before we met.
I like how the baggage that we do have, it's from the past, but not with each other.
Yeah.
And some might say it's because the relationship's too early. But I feel like we passed our honeymoon phase and
I also feel like, sorry to interrupt, but like it is early, but the behind the scenes things that have been going on in both of our lives that we've had to handle together, I think fast forward through some of that.
Yeah.
I think we've handled a lot, not to go into detail, but in both of our like private lives over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And that we've handled together and managed to like work as a team through that. We're not going to say, but that like.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think that's why. Going back to my whole like honeymoon phase thing is like what we show on camera are the vacations, are the playful moments. What you see is like all the good parts, because why would we talk about the drama or whatever? And obviously I was going through certain things in my personal life, a lot of stuff, but I'm not gonna paint the picture in a negative way, because no matter what, I feel like every negative can turn into a positive. It's just timing. Right? There's been a lot. There's just been a lot of, for both in our personal lives. And so.
But then we've worked out, I think, how to handle it together.
Yes.
Without blaming each other. But I think.
And being homeless for 2 months.
Yeah. But I think it comes down. I think it comes down to the fact that I feel like I am completely responsible for my own life and my own happiness, but you are my partner and I can ask you for help or support. So like if there's things that like recently I wrote a whole list of everything in my life that I want to be different, that I want to change. And like I know on every single one of those points, whatever I need, you'll help me with. But I also know ultimately it's my responsibility. And if I want help, I have to ask for it, and I have to let you know how I need that help. But that's on me. But then I've been single. Before we met, I was single for like 27 years, 28 years. So that's always been like what I've had to do. And then I think you've been in a lot of relationships where you've had to learn that same thing too, that ultimately it's your own mind, your own world, you're responsible for your shit. But obviously I'm here to help. Yeah,
I think I'm more versed in partnership. But also like it gets time, like it takes time basically in every new relationship to see where you become new people. Because you're not going to be the person that you were before. You're learning from each other, you're helping each other out. And also like you start to assume different tasks and roles within the relationship, because when you're single you do everything. You do everything by yourself, and then you might have business partners or whatever, but you're still running the house by yourself, you're cooking for yourself, you're doing all these things, chores, tasks, even emotional support. You might call your friends out, or you might call your friends up, or you might talk to yourself in your head. But then now that you have a romantic or just a life partner, right? There's so many benefits that come from that when you're not at each other's throats, like being able to build upon your thoughts, having some input. Everything is like there's someone there to support you in both ways. And so I think the good thing about this relationship though is that like I feel like this is a genuine partnership, and if there are any insecurities, we're at such a good place where we can just talk about it like that and it's solved. Like faster and faster. And that's what I'm realizing is like when you're in a mature, loving, strong relationship, that there's this feeling of tremendous peace. There's this feeling of like, so like there's no well, there are misunderstandings, but there's no underlining like tension and feeling of like uncertainty. And I think that was normal in so many of my relationships, as well as like the relationships that I observed and the people that I knew. And so like, let's face it, the world is mostly filled with divorce and dysfunctional relationships, right? So since there's very few kind of models to look after and everyone's working it out at the same time, no one has the right answers. And it's difficult because I've heard all these cliche things too about like, oh, you just got to be with the one you love, then you're going to thrive and this and that, right? But you don't quite know this until you feel it. It's not a logical thing. It's like being in the presence of something real and then like feeling it and then understanding what it is. Then you're like, this is what people were talking about.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, so in the past, you know, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, you know what? I have to work this out. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Or like, we're fighting a lot because, you know, we just got issues and from our past, the baggages we just got to work on. And I realized that like, love is not something that you earn. And having a good relationship is not something that you build up to. It's just something that exists first and foremost. So then you can begin the process of building together.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think there's certain things like I didn't know how to communicate within a relationship because I was never used to doing it. So things like that you can build on. You can build on improving those things and improving certain aspects. But I think a lot of it is personal responsibility. A lot of it.
Yeah.
Like I had to acknowledge that I am shit at communicating with like what I need. Like, and I think I'm good at asking for specific things, but I think I definitely had times where I would be thinking about things or processing things that I should have shared that I didn't share, or like sometimes I prioritize where if we've got a busy day but you've done something that's upset me, I'm not going to tell you until we've finished all the tasks for the day.
Yeah.
Even if it actually slows the day down, because in my mind,
sort it out?
Yeah, in my mind I've prioritized it.
Yeah.
But I've learned that I have to tell you like, hey, I'm upset, but I need to organize my thoughts before I talk to you. Do you know what I mean? It's like little things like that can be picked up. But I think you can improve and work on things, but I think it starts with personal responsibility and looking at where you're not doing things or what you could do differently, and then make that the priority, but also then look at, I guess, the dynamic of what's going on.
Yeah.
And also don't be afraid of I'm a completely different person in this relationship than I am when I'm single, and that freaked me out at first, but I had to kind of not get over it but just embrace it in the moment.
I'm definitely changing too. Yeah. But you know, I don't, some people miss their old selves, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I believe like every minute like that I learn and I grow, it's evolution. So for me, I get to keep all the best parts of who I am, and then as long as I make an effort to like kind of move forward and be this new person, and the future is always brighter. It doesn't go down for me. There might be moments where I'm like in a down time, but it's just a natural flow of being a human being. We're just gonna have ups and downs. But ultimately, I like this new era of everything, and I'm super excited because like the way JK is going, the Careful Boys, like I feel like I got old school JK back where everything is just like jokes and fun. This relationship, it's like I got a second chance where in my age, it's difficult for a guy like in his late 30s to escape a relationship with no kids, because the last relationship I was in, it was basically almost like a marriage, right? And we both got away pretty clean, no kids, you know, no tied assets, and on top of that, it was a very peaceful, cool breakup. Like there's no hate, you know? And I just seen like so many examples of like man, like multiple kids involved and like so much drama. And then I'm just like hella grateful and thankful that like I get this second chance at life to start brand new with a lot of things, fresh new content, fresh new fans, fresh new everything. And the world keeps going forward for me. And so like with that in mind, I just feel like the luckiest guy on earth, especially because, you know, everything is just, it just feels like a dream. Like this is like, how the hell did this happen? Like if everything, you know, there was a really dark time happening for me a couple of years ago, and I just didn't know how like, I felt like I was waking up choking every day because of like how much suffering we were all going through. And I never really talked about it because, you know, like when I create content, like I'm never depressed or negative about anything. I'm usually talking after I solved everything, not during the moment when I'm sad, you know? And then me and David talked about this too, but it took us over 2 years to recover from burnout. From the non-stop 3 hours a night sleeping to everything like, you know, our relationships going sour, so much fighting within friends and loved ones and whatever. And it was a complete mess. But it almost feels like that was a whole entire different life.
Yeah.
And now I'm like in this relationship and everything is just like fresh and it's like I don't want to say a better version because that era was dope too. It's like I'm the same physical person, right? With the same reality. But it's almost like it's like a different soul or like a different thing is completely happening.
Yeah.
And I guess that's life, right? Like we all change our bodies, we grow, whatever, we change jobs, we change the places that we live, we have a whole new scene, and things like continuously change. But I wake up now every day like, what's going on? This is freaking awesome. And I can't wait to see what else is in store with everything.
Yeah.
So
I think some people would be scared by that.
what do you mean?
The amount of change, how things like aren't stable, new era. Like that's exciting for you. I think some people will be like, dang, like me when I first got here and we were dating and whatever, and how much I changed, it scared me.
Yeah.
Because I was in like a new environment with new people and I didn't even recognize myself. You know, I was like, who is this person? Why are these reactions happening? Why am I behaving this way? I had no idea. And that like scared me because it felt like everything was like unstable. And I remember we went for a drive. Remember we were like coming down off the mountain and I was telling you that I don't even recognize who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe because you had to do a more drastic change than I did.
But you've had a lot of drastic changes in the last like couple of years.
Yeah, that's true. And everyone here witnessing the change, they saw it all kind of unfold. But yeah, maybe, you know, the same, I don't know, like you said, like I deal with a lot of problems head on and I fix a lot of things and I stay chill and happy about it. And then like a month later, I just sleep for like 3 days straight, just, you know, dealing with whatever stress and pressure I was going through. But I kind of thrive, like you mentioned earlier, like I love war.
Yeah. He loves a little bit of war, not like a full-blown battle every day, but he likes having an adversary. He likes having like someone to be, or something to be coming up against. He likes a challenge.
Yeah. And I think you're right. Like I think if I don't have challenges in my life, if I did try the whole like retired style life. I was traveling every day, enjoying my like snowboard binges. And when I don't have a challenge, I get kind of sad. Like there's only so much playing I can do, and I love to play, and I love to have fun. But like, I could get really lazy in my head and my heart, and then I start to miss like having a mission for something. And sometimes I just want to get out there and beat the fuck out of somebody through business, through something, you know. And then it's just a part of like living, you know. It makes me feel alive, and that's why I'm doing Junbi in Hawaii, baby. I mean, I could have done it in Vegas, I could have done it in LA, but it gave me a little bit of an excuse to be out there with family and achieve my dreams out there. And is it a crazy endeavor? Yeah. Is it expensive? Oh, brada. Oh, shit. It's right in the heart of Waikiki. And I didn't realize this, but Waikiki, they're more expensive than Beverly Hills. Like, I was just so shocked at all the numbers and everything that we're having to go through. But it makes it all worth it because the level is like, you gotta play big to win big. Basically, you just gotta go for it and go all in, you know. And that's just my style. It's always been my style, and that's what makes me feel alive. So anyways, guys, we did a good solid conversation, and this is kind of like the way me and Hannah just talk throughout our road trips. Let me know in the comments below if you like this little style, I don't know, we might do it more, maybe more focused.
I don't know.
This
I'm
one
not-
was a stream of consciousness.
I'm not good at talking on camera yet.
This is maybe why you know what, maybe we should just do it so then you can get practice talking on camera, because I actually believe you have so much to offer, you have so much insight, you have a remarkable life that you don't talk about because you're too damn bashful, and your British ass doesn't like to seem like you're self-promoting. But to me, I feel like you're an inspiration, because I don't know many people at 20 something years old who had a business, had a mental breakdown, and then packed up all her shit in a fucking bag, went to London, and then basically found your way into your dream jobs, being a designer, working for the theater, you have an extensive IMDb. All these things are fucking remarkable. And I envied your life when I first met you, because I was like, this girl is living the life I want to live, because you could work a month or two and say, you know what, I don't want to fucking work this month. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go to these different cities. I'm just gonna explore, sit there with a fucking espresso. And I'm like, I want to live that life. But you know what? Maybe that'll be a story for another day.
Comment below if you ever had a mental breakdown and moved to London.
I'm sure we all have had mental breakdowns, but to do something drastic and do something about it, I think that's fucking inspirational. But anyways, guys, let me know if you guys stuck around for this long. It's probably like a podcast now, but this is the kind of content I love doing. I just want to talk, and it feels like I'm in the room talking with you. So yeah, till next time, toodaloo, bye-bye. Bye.
Chuck E. Cheese for my birthday. 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 Birthday. Chuck E. Cheese. Birthday. Chuck E. Cheese for my birthday. Chuck E. Cheese for my birthday. Chuck E. Cheese for my birthday. Birthday. Chuck E. Cheese.